A slick, unmarked sedan appeared in his rearview mirror. A silent hunter in the urban jungle, its presence a cold knot in the pit of his stomach. It followed him, a looming shadow with no lights, no siren, just the unwavering authority of something watching. After 5 long blocks, a cascade of crimson and azure lights exploded to life, their silent accusation a shocking contrast to the blaring siren. Julian's pulse remained steady, a practice calm honed through years of high-pressure work, but a familiar dread tightened in his gut. He pulled over, hands resting on the steering wheel, his movements slow and deliberate. On the passenger seat, a brown paper bag trembled, holding his grandmother's favorite pastries, a symbol of a simple life now overshadowed by a high-stakes confrontation. As Officer Thorne's mirrored sunglasses glinted in the afternoon sun, Julian saw his own reflection. A man transformed from a brilliant architect into a suspect in a ritual older than the city itself. This wasn't about a broken taillight or a rolling stop. It was about the unspoken rules of a society where the color of one's skin could turn a peaceful drive into a public spectacle. Officer Thorne, her face a mask of granite, approached the car. Her voice, dry and clipped, cut through the humid air. License and registration. Julian, his heart pounding a steady rhythm against his ribs, reached for the glove compartment. He pulled out a black folder heavy with the weight of its contents. "These plates are government-issued," he stated calmly. "They don't appear in civilian databases. You'll need a restricted portal to verify them." The silence that followed was thick, a suffocating blanket of suspicion. The officer's partner, Officer Miller, feigned an inspection of the taillights, his eyes never leaving Julian. The cicadas' chorus droned on, a mocking soundtrack to the unfolding drama. "On what legal basis may I be ordered out of this vehicle?" Julian asked, his voice steady despite the turmoil within. Officer Thorne's lips twitched, an almost imperceptible reaction. Officer Miller shifted his weight, his hand inching closer to his holstered weapon. The world outside the car seemed to disappear, leaving only Julian and the 2 officers, locked in a silent dance of power and prejudice. "Step out of the vehicle." Officer Thorne's voice cut through the tension. Julian complied, his movements slow and deliberate, his hands in plain view. As he stood beside the car, Officer Thorne summoned backup. Julian's heart pounded, a drumbeat of defiance against the injustice. This was a battle he had to win. Suddenly, without warning, Officer Thorne lunged. Her grip was like a vice, yanking him forward. His thighs slammed against the hot metal of the car, but he clenched his jaw and held still, refusing to give her the reaction she sought. "This is wrong," he said, his voice low but unyielding. She didn't answer. Instead, she snapped a pair of handcuffs around his wrists, the cold steel biting into his skin. "I've done nothing wrong," he said, his voice strained. "Please tell me why." But his words were met with silence as she shoved him into the back of the sedan and slammed the door shut. The echo of metal on metal reverberated down the street, a grim testament to the silent battlefield of Oakwood Avenue. Inside the sterile walls of the Northwood Police Department, Julian was processed like a faceless number. No rights read, no lawyer offered. He was led to a cell, a concrete tomb, where the only sound was the hollow echo of the steel door slamming shut. He sat in the fluorescent gloom, the chill of the concrete seeping into his bones, a sharp contrast to the burning fire of injustice in his heart. "Not this time," he whispered to himself, his voice a low, resolute promise. He would not vanish in his silence again. Early the next morning, the front door of the precinct swung open to reveal Julian's brother, Elias, a civil rights attorney. A court-issued subpoena was clenched in his hand, demanding immediate access to the sedan's dashcam footage. He moved with quiet confidence through the echoing halls, a beacon of hope in the sterile environment. Within hours, the footage was secured. The video laid bare every moment of the traffic stop. Julian's slow, deliberate compliance, the sharp shove, the cold snap of handcuffs. Elias's pen raced across his notepad, annotating every timestamp, every word, every damning moment. The official report, he noted, spoke of aggressive movement and defiant posture, a stark contradiction to the clear evidence on the screen. Across town in the back booth of the nearly empty Crimson Cup Cafe, a courthouse records clerk, Sarah Reynolds, slid a thick dossier across the scarred tabletop to Julian and Elias. Inside were dozens of sealed complaints, each one a mirror image of Julian's case. The names were different, but the stories were the same. Accusations of failure to comply and confrontational tone against men of color. Their cases quietly dropped, their voices silenced. Sarah's voice trembled as she presented a handwritten affidavit, her signature a testament to her courage. I witnessed these reports buried year after year, while victims suffered in silence. In a hushed late-night cafe, a plan was forged. They would not wait for a new scandal to break. They would file the complaints in the public record, release the information to independent journalists, and force the city to confront its hidden history of bias. News of the sealed complaints spread like wildfire. At the Northwood Community Center, Julian and Elias launched weekly Know Your Rights workshops. Each Tuesday evening, the folding chairs were packed with residents of all ages. Julian opened every meeting with the same powerful statement. When enough of us speak, the system can't pretend we don't exist. The workshops became a platform for a new testimony. Men and women stepped up to share their own encounters with Officer Thorne's unchecked authority. These gatherings did more than educate. They galvanized the community, transforming individual pain into collective power. The case was pushed into the harsh light of public scrutiny, and Officer Thorne's defense grew weaker with each passing day. The preliminary hearing convened in a hushed courtroom. The dashcam footage flickered to life, a stark and undeniable record of the events. Witness after witness, men and women who had suffered in silence for years stepped up to the stand. Their voices a testament to the pattern of injustice. When Judge Helen Vance finally spoke, her tone was grave and laced with conviction. She announced that probable cause had been established for formal charges of misconduct and falsifying a police report. A wave of relief, tears, and applause broke loose in the courtroom. When the gavel finally fell, Officer Thorne was found guilty of abuse of power and falsifying her report. Her badge was revoked, and she was barred from ever serving in law enforcement again. Almost overnight, the Northwood Police Department came under a sweeping internal review. Former victims saw their cases reopened, their voices finally validated. But Julian felt little triumph. He returned to leading the Know Your Rights workshops each Tuesday, urging every attendee to share their own story. Vibrant murals of Sarah, Maria, and David sprang up on brick walls across town, bearing the rallying cry, "Speak up. Don't stay silent." 1 year later, Northwood was a changed city. The newly established Civilian Oversight Council met monthly in the old precinct building. Its walls now hung with portraits of residents who once felt powerless. The state legislature passed a Police Transparency Act, and SEAL patrol records, once hidden by bureaucratic decree, were now available online. Julian Thorne, once handcuffed without cause, now traveled the region as a guardian of accountability. "Our story is far from over," he would tell audiences. Murals of Sarah Reynolds and others still glowed on downtown walls, a testament that courage can uproot entrenched injustice. On the anniversary of that sweltering afternoon on Oakwood Avenue, the city designated a Speak Out Day, inviting anyone with a story to share it. Folding chairs filled the community center each Tuesday for the Know Your Rights workshops, where residents of all ages learned how to document encounters, demand transparency, and support one another. Though Northwood had reclaimed an outward calm, beneath the surface lay a steady current of watchfulness. The single push on a hot hood that once threatened to erase one man's dignity had instead ignited a movement that refused to fade. When a community chooses not to stay silent, even the deepest prejudices can be exposed, dismantled, and finally overcome.